I think this is the group,
That's
so
a shame.
I'm excited to see all of your faces. I know we do this just once a month, but for whatever reason, having, Christmas and New Year's, it feels like it's been longer since I've seen all of you. So it's really good to be back. Let's just bow our heads and start in prayer before anything. Lord, we thank you so much for this time. Thanks so much for all of these leaders who are here on this call. God, thanks for their leadership and their willingness to serve you, their obedience to your calling on their lives. Thank you for the steadfastness of these individuals and their desire to attend these meetings and to grow with other small group leaders and learn from each other and learn from you at the same time, God. I thank you that you minister to me through them, and I pray that you would minister to them through me, Lord. Would you bless this time? Be in our speech and just inspire our thoughts about small groups, Lord. If it be your will, God, please let Brenda's microphone work so she can be a part of the conversation. And we lift this all up to you, Lord. We love you so much. In your son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 Well, I gotta admit, I don't have much prepared to present or to discuss today. And I thought that was pretty apropos since it's just the beginning of a new year, beginning of a new season. I'm an open blank slate to the Lord right now. That's kind of how I feel. I'm just ready for whatever new stuff he's going to bring in the church, whatever he's going to bring in my personal life and in my small group. And I'm ready for the same for this group of people too, and for just our group of small group leaders at the church. I have a lot of interest from people for joining small groups, and I think that that's just gonna look like all new groups starting. I'm willing to, talk to people about joining current groups, and I'm willing to explore that with them. But I really think this is just an opportunity for completely new groups to be formed with all new people, so that there's no, incubation period into a group that's already been established for X amount of years. It just is all new people and all on the same level of just getting started with a small group. So that's my exciting news right now, is that I just have a good list of people who've been interested for, months, really, contacting me, emailing me, seeing if they can get in a group in January. So it's the time, and I'm really excited. And another piece of exciting news is the upcoming change in the 5 p.m. contemporary service. There was an e-news sent out on Tuesday that had a little blurb about it. It's just some information, but I just wanted to tell y'all firsthand about that, because I fortunately just have been called to play a part in that. And I am so excited for what God's going to do through that service. So for those who don't know, or for those who just want some clarification, the 5 p.m. service has been on recess as it normally does over Christmas and New Year's and the break. And that recess will continue until the 31st of this month. That will be the first day that the service will take place again. And during this time, our team of not just our priests at church, but myself, Camden Wyndham, who is our director of student ministries, and Zach Miller, who is a newly ordained priest. We've all formed this team, and we're just brainstorming and praying and coming to the Lord and asking him what needs to change about this service. And we're not trying to change the service because it was bad, or change it because it's old, or it's this, or it's that. We're just identifying a need for youth in the church. If there's no young people, then the church will die. This is the sad, but very true, just fact that we've come to. So to have a service that the young people can call their own is going to be very important. And that does not mean that we are kicking out old people, that we are kicking out those who were a part of it before. It is the same. It is open to any and all who want to come, but the emphasis will be towards younger people or younger families, high schoolers, young adults, 30s and 40s, whatever that might look like. We would just want to have a safe place for those people to come and feel engaged in worship and engaged with their Creator when they come together for church. So that's sort of the main idea behind it, and there's lots of details that come with it. I mean, Karen was just saying when we just started the meeting that she peeked her head into the parish hall today and noticed a lot of change. We're physically changing the room a little bit to just create a different space of worship. Instead of the stage being long ways down that room, we have actually turned it so that the stage is on one of the long walls. So it will be a shorter room. So it'll be shorter distance to the screens, shorter distance to the stage, and just a wider space in general. We even have these black curtains that we've kind of hung catty corner from the stage to the back walls. So it even kind of just funnels the whole space towards the cross, towards the center of the stage, just towards the most important thing, so that even when you're just standing there, there's this sense of like what you're facing and what you're doing and why you're there. So these are just some of the small changes that we're making. The liturgy will look so similar to what it has been all along, but I'm just really excited for the change, and through that, I know we're going to really just hit home on small groups and emphasize that hopefully every week. I mean, I want to have a booth. I want to be sitting there with resources and talk to people and get people engaged. So I'm very excited about that too. So I'm not quite sure what that's going to look like yet. I've more so been focusing on logistics with the team, and I will be the worship leader for that service. So I've been focusing a lot on worship too. But just to let y'all know that small groups are going to be a huge part of that. And all of you are invited, of course, to come and attend the service or be a part if you feel so led to be on any of the sort of behind the scenes teams. Yeah, I invite any questions that y'all might have. I know that was a lot, but that's just some exciting news that's going on.
I think it sounds very positive. I wasn't sure what Michael McIntyre, he's not going to be part of that now. What did that, tell me.
Yeah, so he will no longer be the worship leader, but he certainly may still come and attend or help in some other capacity. But in this discerning period, particularly for Shay, just from the head and from the very beginning, Shay felt just a nudge that the worship would be one of the main things that would look different with this new service. And again, that is not to say that it was not good or that it was not what it needed to be. It was what it needed to be, and it was beautiful. And Michael, it was such a faithful servant through all of that. But with a gear towards a younger generation now, there is just a different style of worship leading that a lot of younger people are drawn to. So Michael, he still leads at Fripp, and his heart for prison ministry has come up big time in these last couple of weeks. So our prayer is that he'll be able to be involved in prison ministry like he hasn't been able to before. So he'll still be very involved in the church. And Shay very lovingly approached him with this idea for change, and Michael was so receptive and so kind, and went home and discerned and prayed, and he just fell right in line with it, and he totally felt the Lord's calling for whatever he has next for him. And I'm not trying to speak for Michael either and say, hey, the Lord called him to this and he said yes. This is just what I've heard, and it has seemed very positive and very, very kind so far. So I don't know if y'all have any more questions, but that's that. Hopefully there will be more details to come for the congregation for, in ways to get involved in.
So Maddie, are you hoping?
What's that?
Maddie, are you hoping when you were saying that as far as small groups and that, it sounds exciting, and I just want to go look in and see what that looks like. I have not a clue, so I'm pretty excited to see what that means. But as far as small groups, are you hoping for more small groups at that age level so that you can get the younger groups connected? I know y'all have a big small group or two,
Mhm.
right?
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Okay.
So
So
I
you're,
think that's going to be a big goal, is to get young adults and young families in particular involved in small groups, and that again hopefully will just be somewhat easy to accomplish with having myself, Camden, and Zach be the main team behind the operation. It'll be easy for young adults to look up and see other young adults on the stage or in the pews helping or at the door greeting, whatever that might look like. I think it's just going to be, I think it'll be really good for young adult groups to form and to look even more like a ministry than a small group, if that makes sense. With having so many young adults come together, we always just bring them into our small group and we just have one really big small group. But I think it would be great to just have a young adult group that has lots of different small groups in it, so that young adults can come together, get to know each other, learn together, fellowship, but also have your small group of 4, 5, 6 people, a smaller group to be together with. That being said, the vision is for small groups of all ages and all stages to be formed. So again, we hope that people who currently attend the 5, we hope that they'll still keep coming, that new people would come, and people of all ages would hear about the service and come and be intrigued by small groups. So there is a balance of desiring a new service for the younger people, but not just focusing on that person, focusing on all people and just bringing it all together in one.
Sounds good.
well, we'll be praying. We'll be praying for you. It sounds great.
Thank you.
Praying.
Thank you.
Eddie, are you getting the sense that people, whether young or older, all ages, do you get any feedback that, boy, they would like to join a small group as soon as the vaccine comes, or what's the feeling?
That's a good question. I have not heard anything like that in regards to the vaccine, like particular language like that. I have heard some people be interested in small groups, and then after have some back and forth with them, they end up discerning is not the right time, is too risky, not during COVID, those kinds of things. And I have had people ask me, people young and old, actually older, if there are any groups that meet on Zoom particularly rather than meeting in person. So I do know some people are still interested in no contact, no in-person type stuff. But I haven't actually heard anything about vaccine or wait till the vaccine, wait till this, anything like that. But we're hopeful for growth always, and it'll come. God will bring it. He has brought it for these last 6 months. It's been amazing, and seeing his faithfulness in this ministry, it just keeps all of us going at the office, not just me, but everyone who's involved in the church, and it's amazing. So I'm so grateful. So
Addie,
I'd love to hear.
I'd like to know how the groups here are meeting. Are they all meeting on Zoom, or are you meeting in person? What are you doing?
Yeah, everybody,
meeting in
please
person.
share.
Well, our couples kind of group, although it's right now it's 3 couples and 2 singles, but we are meeting in person. But Peg and I have a women's group that is still Zooming too.
My group meets
What
in
about-
person.
We're meeting.
Our group Zooms, the couples group, and Cindy's down there. Hey, Cindy. Our group has been in person until January, and we Zoomed for the first time in January yesterday, and we're going to Zoom the next time, and then we're going to just see what's going on.
We meet in person, weather permitting, outside.
That's what we did at first, but now we're Zooming, and I don't really think our group likes Zooming very well. I mean, they're doing it, but they don't feel like they get as much out of it when we Zoom. And I don't know how you can solve that problem, but
You can't.
I don't think we can. I think we just have to do it until we did meet outside before the weather changed, but now it's Zooming all the time.
That's what my ladies group did, and then it got too cold. So, and we're kind of a small group right now, just because of people's life circumstances. But we met in the Latimer room the last time we met, and it was just so nice to be in the building, number one, and we were certainly, I mean, the most fragile health-wise of us came, and she felt comfortable. So you can really spread out in there because there was only 4 of us there. So it wasn't ideal. It wasn't around my dining room table, but it sure was a lot better than
Zoom.
Yeah.
Was that during the day? Was that during the day, Cindy?
Yeah, I had to reserve it through, Debbie, of course.
Okay.
My group
Chuck,
is not about Zooming.
well, Chuck and Gloria, I'll say, we've had good Zoom with our couples revelation study. It's been good. But then from time to time, we watch the weather and we just get together in somebody's yard socially just to talk so we can be together.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Just, because we were comfortable when it got warm right after Christmas, we all got in the backyard while it was still warm and just visited. So that helped a lot.
I guess we could do that and watch the weather. When we get some warm weather, we just do it,
That helped everybody's Zoom fatigue.
Right. That's a good idea. Thank you, Jane, for that.
I agree. Zooming is a great option for right now. I don't know what we all would have done for the last year without Zoom, but it is a little bit cold. It's hard to have that warm feeling, even just in this meeting. I was just dreaming the other day about the day when all of us can meet together in person and talk about small groups and not have to do it at 7:30 at night on our computers and our phones. But I know for my small group in the summer and in the fall of last year, we really try to be creative and come up with some ways to combat that coldness. And we started meeting outside at one of our members' pool at his apartment. We met in the pool area, and we used to have coffee every week at our small group. Granted, we met at 7:45 at night, but everybody still wanted full strength coffee. And so that was just one of those things for us that made it so homey and so welcoming, just to have those cups and just sit around and drink our coffee together. So when we started meeting in person one time, I was just like, we just need coffee. And so we got a couple of those jugs from Dunkin' of the jugs of coffee, and got the little cups and sat around outside with our little cups of coffee. And it was a very different environment, just adding that silly thing that for whatever reason means so much to us. Even if it's over Zoom, I mean, if we had continued to meet over Zoom, I'm sure that there would have been a coffee movement, and we all would have had our mugs, over Zoom and show each other our coffee. So even just the small ways like that you can think about, what are some of the seemingly, meaningless things to our group that are very meaningful actually, and how can we emphasize that even through a screen or even through masks or sitting 6 feet apart, whatever it might look like. And if that looks like a just backyard get together every once in a while, then I think that's amazing. I think that could just foster so much love and friendship, to then go back to your Zoom call and say, remember when we met and how great that was, and to have those moments like that.
Even at Waterfront Park, there's nice chairs there. Or if you do a purposeful meeting, you can bring your own chair under the pavilion. But that's kind of a neutral territory and gives you a lot of space to move around.
Absolutely.
Key to an outdoor meeting is a fire pit. If y'all have seen the stainless steel circular fire pits, this little thing, portable, and boy, they are a piece of work. They are wonderful.
Wow.
Gather everybody around the circle.
Then you can have coffee and s'mores.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Perfect.
What more do you need?
Let me know when y'all do that. I'll bring the skewer. I've got really long things for for some more.
These things have no smoke. I mean, once the fire starts, it just puts out heat at the side where the vents are at the bottom. No smoke coming up the top. It's unbelievable.
Wow. That's great.
I have two things, Maddie.
Mhm.
One is I'm excited about you having the booth. We used to have booths at St. Helena's when we first started with small groups.
There you go.
And we had what's fair, old fashioned fair at the beginning of the year, and we'd be at tables, and it was word of mouth. Come join us. Karen Cusco walked up and said, "What is it?" And joined our group, and I'm excited for that because I think people want to be asked and they want to see a face. But my concern is that we've become good friends with Emil and Barbara Klatt that have joined. He's a retired Lutheran pastor, and they go out with us on Thursday nights and different things. And he looked at us about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and said, "Sharon, what is a small group?" And I realized that as much as we talk about it and the priests talk about it, they really don't define it. And I'm suggesting that you take out a little blurb in the bulletins or whatever that have the old-fashioned font that you use for definitions that says small groups, and defines it. I think that we're missing the boat and not defining it to people. We just talk about it and they really don't know what it is.
That's a great point.
I'll tell you what, Mac had the best definition of a small group ever, and I've never forgotten it. I think I had the right, wait a minute, I think I had the right words.
Say it in Gullah.
Centered fellowship. Remember you said that, Mac?
What did he say?
I can't remember what I said last week, much less.
It really stuck with me. I think that's the best.
What did you say?
You said biblically centered fellowship.
Biblically centered fellowship.
I never forgot it.
Me too. I hope I did say it.
You did.
I'll take credit for it.
I got it in front of my Bible and I remembered it.
Wow.
Cool.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great point, Sharon. Thanks for saying that. It's like when you're in the club, you know what the club's about. But if you're not in the club, then who's going to tell you?
Right. And how do you how are you welcomed into a club? Most clubs are by invitation. Usually, come and see. I'd say come and see.
Right.
You know that, Karen, that covers the waterfront. Simple, clear, and covers the waterfront. I don't know if that's the definition the church would want to use, but it does kind of, we're biblically centered, and it is it's a group, it's a fellowship organization.
See?
Yeah.
My
Well,
dictionary
anyway,
team.
I just think, and maybe I'm wrong, y'all chime in, but have y'all been asked that? I mean,
It's a good point.
terminology. I was surprised that they asked after sitting this thing for 6 months.
Yeah, I think it's surprising knowing Emil and Barbara that they would ask that. So I think that's a very valid point. Shay always, what is it? Belong and serve. So you do get the feeling that it's a place to belong. But it used to be a small group was a therapy session, right?
Yeah.
At our age, so that at first people fought the name small group because you thought, well, I don't need therapy, that type of thing. So
I think
maybe
it's deeply enriching fellowship.
Yeah.
I mean, you delve deep.
well, it's biblically based is why
Right.
that
Right.
works.
Are you making notes, Maddie?
Hey, this is being recorded, so
Okay,
I will trademark these phrases.
Yeah.
You got to be careful not driving the guys off. Norris Lafitte said one time, if you want to get small groups to go, call them something else.
I remember.
So
I just call it a small group Bible study.
That's what I do, Peg. That says it all. It's a small group Bible study.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
A fellowship.
because I want
Yeah, but-
people to know they're getting into a Bible study.
Yeah, but you're supposed to be doing life together too. There's supposed to be more than a
Yeah.
Bible study.
Yeah.
Life on life.
Right.
But it,
That's true.
We've been trained, right, Mac?
Big time. We've been trained.
That definition is getting longer and longer.
No,
Way
but,
back with this stuff.
but y'all are new to it. Like, the newbies ought to speak up, because, what do you think?
I think
We
you
I
have,
just love being called a newbie at anything.
I'm not a newbie, but I'm going to speak up anyway, Sharon. I think you have a great idea because I think people don't ask about small groups because they don't know enough to ask the question. Like, at least you had a friendship going and they had the courage to ask the question. But I think defining that and having a space every week or every time we send the news out every week, there ought to be something that touches on small groups that will make people more comfortable to ask more about it. And
Right.
You know,
I think that's
Maddie,
great.
I think your idea of the pictures, any pictures, even like this,
Mm-hmm.
it puts a face, it puts faces with it. So they say, oh yeah, we know those people
Right.
and they're in a small group, that type of thing. Same thing you're saying, Chuck.
Absolutely.
We called it a support group at one point too. We called
Oh,
them.
be careful with that.
Well, I know
Oh,
you.
Whoa.
The
A
problem
life
is,
group, we called it life group, remember? But
Life groups.
the problem is if you're a raging extrovert like me, that sounds like small group sounds great. I don't care if you call it Bible study or Bible study with fellowship. If you're an introvert, this is a generalization, but if you're an introvert, you worry, is it bare my soul time? That's why if we get back together, past the panic here, you could have a booth and have people come up and answer questions. You have a little talk and have people come over and talk about how does this work? What is a Bible study? And they realize it's not a psychological barrier soul. It's a Bible study and it's a time of fellowship.
Right.
it's fun.
Right.
It's
And like-
fun.
Maddie, I think if you did that at every service once, not necessarily a booth, but they get your face because Shay gets up and says, call Maddie Steen. No, you're relatively new
Right.
with staff and COVID that, just seeing your face makes you approachable because you're very approachable, I think.
Thank you.
Really, that's a compliment.
Yes, ma'am. I agree with all of this. And
I
I
want to
just,
say one thing that
what's that, Mac?
You're freezing. Did you know you're?
one of the things I've learned in facilitating small groups is you've got to be open and you've got to be willing to bare your soul to the group. If you're gonna have anybody else that opens up to the group, you've got to be the first one to be willing to do that.
Right.
And then it'll evolve. I think that's an important part of the group is getting to know the people and getting to know them well enough to call them brothers. I'm in the guys group, that kind of thing. And it's huge. It's huge.
And then,
But you don't want to scare people away with that too quick either.
right, Maddie, you could stand up and we could be on the side of the other end of the table. If one of us could stand with you or whatever, but they put a face to something real during
Absolutely.
COVID
Yes.
times.
Absolutely. A masked face. I get I have a vision of maybe even a flyer or a brochure that I can have that after getting up even on stage and saying, this is what a small group is, having it in the bulletin, then say, go follow up with Maddie or with Sharon or with Jim or whoever it is who's at our booth. And then we can say, here, this is what it is. Take this home, look at some pictures, look at some definitions, some examples. Let's talk about it. Even just having physical examples like that right now, just to answer
And that
questions.
we would love to have you. We would love to have you. It's the invitation part. Like, who said that? Sharon? It's the invitation. Please come join us. It's fun. And it means everything. It means everything.
I think too, sometimes when you have quotes from people who are quotes like so-and-so said, oh, this means this to me, or you know what I mean?
Yes.
You can have once a
Absolutely.
month in the newsletter. It was the newsletter, it comes out weekly, once a month, have testimonial time on
Yeah.
small groups. That's all.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
don't
have
even
two
put last
quotes.
name. You know, you can
Mm.
say Barbara said, you know,
Mhm.
you don't know who it is.
Yes,
Oh,
that's
yeah, you
part of the reason why part of the reason why on the survey, the little questionnaire that I sent out recently, why I had at the bottom there, just even to ask you guys, what does small group mean to you? How has this impacted your life? And can I use this as a testimonial for, you know,
Exactly.
options like this, opportunities like this, where I can just look back at these beautifully crafted sentences from you guys, just really quick, you know, one liner. This is what small groups mean to me. This is what they could mean to you too. So come join us. I think that's a great idea. And I still would love to get my friend Stefan involved with videoing some of our groups. I mentioned this, I think, at the last meeting. And even just getting some of these groups on the schedule so he and I can travel around to groups that are meeting in person, and even for 5 minutes, take some video of you guys talking or reading or laughing or whatever it might be, to just humanize small groups and say, look at this, you know, 2-minute long video, and you will see groups that have people ages 20 to people ages whatever, you know, we just have the range here, and this is what they do, this is what they look like, and now imagine what it could look like for you, you know. I think that could be really beautiful. Yeah.
Patty, I've got a question for you relating to the surveys.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you get a sense of why? I mean, pretty much when we do our monthly meeting, you're looking at us. We're the ones showing up for this.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get how many, aren't there like 20 small groups or more?
Mm-hmm. There's a lot.
And so what do people say why they don't want to gather in? And I mean, this should help all of us by being together. It helps
Mm-hmm.
me. It would help.
Mm-hmm.
It helps me to hear from other people, because you get
Right.
really, really stuck in your own cycle and circle. But did you get any sense of why more people aren't participating in this?
That's a great question. And I really have not gotten that sense. And I think it will come down to just individual phone calls and conversations with people. And I really think that a lot of it is either scheduling, particularly with younger people having evening time commitments already, or simply Gmail and our emails acting up and putting my emails into the wrong inbox, or putting it into promotions or spam or whatever it might be. I really think a lot of people just are not getting my emails. And that's, you know, I can try to remedy that and tell people to change whatever setting or put me in their contacts or those kinds of things. But I think that's just a little bit of technological error there. But I agree. I would love to see this group grow and to see, I don't know, young families join, people who lead small groups and who have families. You know, I think that it could be, like you were saying, Jane, can just minister to anybody, any small group leader, regardless of what we talk
We
about
want
in a
to
week.
learn from them.
Mhm.
Okay.
We want to learn from them and know what they're studying that helps us know what to study. I
Right.
think
So
that's
Maddie,
beneficial.
Right.
use us. Give each one of us a small group buddy person to contact and remind, or, I mean, you don't have to, I keep telling you this, you don't have to do all this yourself.
Mm.
Use us. You've got 7 people here, more than that, but 7 groups of people who can reach out to 7 more people. And
Mm.
next time we can have 14, or at least we can at least make them feel guilty.
No.
Guilt's
That's
a
perfect.
powerfully good tool.
It
So
really
you
is.
might think about that. Pair us up with somebody, or tell us who your groups are. And if we have a friend in there who's not showing up, we can say, oh gosh, you missed a really good, we can cheerlead.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a great suggestion. Thank you for that. I would be very willing to do that with any of you who would be willing to partner with somebody like that. I think that's a great idea. And then
I
they
think
would have at least a friend.
do.
What's
I
that?
think we're called to do that,
Mm,
to encourage others and let us learn from them. I mean, I think the younger people, we could learn a lot.
yeah.
We would learn a lot.
They energize us, you know, I mean, or we could energize them, but I mean, I think that's a wonderful idea.
Mm. Thank you, Jane. That's great. Were you going to say something, Peg?
Well, I was just thinking that perhaps they don't understand. We're not doing a Bible study.
Mm.
We're not rehashing. We're really energizing each other and make it it's a resource for everybody who's a leader. It's a resource, not a mandatory, you got to do this or that, you know, but it's a resource for re-energizing leaders, I think. I get really energized hearing what other people have tried to do or did, or I think maybe people just don't get why we do it.
Right. Right.
No.
Yeah, language is such a useful tool, and I've learned that, and I'm still learning that, having taken on this position, you know, in the summer, and right off the bat, trying to decide what my language would be about small groups, and even that is constantly forming and evolving. So defining things like Sharon was suggesting, and now Peg too, just even defining what this meeting is. I agree that that's important, and not only for newcomers, but for us too, to have our hearts geared in the right direction for what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Yeah. I thought it was very keen for you to have a survey. I thought that was I enjoyed doing that.
Mm.
Good for you. You're growing so well into this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Don't you think? Totally.
Thank you.
Maddie, I think the Zooming has something to do with more people, not as many people coming, because when we used to meet in person, we had a much bigger group than this. But I think, you know, with what's going on with the virus and everything, I think has made a big difference in the meetings. And a lot of people have a lot of Zooming to do now. So, so don't feel it's your fault, because I don't really think that's true. I think it's just the times.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I
No,
agree with that.
that's true. But even that's true. But even, Gloria, if you remember, even when we were meeting live during Rector's Forum, it got to be a pretty small group of people who showed up, because it had to be the people who either had just gone to 8, or, you know, people who had small groups that attended 5 didn't come for that. So it's not you, Maddie. I mean, it had gotten to be a pretty slim group of people then too. I wonder if monthly is too often. I mean, I'm fine with it, but I just wonder, it comes around pretty fast for me. I don't know about anybody else, but I turn around and it's, you know, it's a month.
Well, yeah, it's too often for some. They could come every other month. I mean,
right.
I don't know that making it less frequent would be an encouragement.
You're probably right, Cindy.
I think the most encouraging would be to have a mentor program, and maybe every other month or quarterly or whatever. What I miss is not particularly Todd, but his stories about what didn't go right. I mean, he'd always start off with my group, and I've been trying this, and you know, he made it acceptable to keep trying, to keep, this didn't work, so we're trying this, and you know, I mean, I think that was all. You didn't want to miss what some good laughter, you know. But anyway, that was good. Do y'all remember y'all know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. Here I am, the leader of small groups, and I can't get my people to come.
Yeah. Excuse. I got the best excuse I've ever heard. And he would tell something and you just die laughing.
That's Todd for you. Oh man.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, it'd be nice about April time when everybody's vaccinated, that we get the leaders together and with food, because food attracts people,
Oh yeah.
and just talk about, all right, what do we do coming September of 2021 when this panic and pandemic and whatever is all over? How do we gear up small groups big time and just do a brainstorm? But that's not going to be right now. But once the vaccinations occur, maybe people be willing to gather in that nice big new room and talk about it.
That nice big
Totally.
new room actually feels smaller, don't you think? Yeah.
More
It is
intimate.
spacious.
Intimate.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I've always said you put a lot of people in a small area and they have a good time. But that's not a COVID saying right now.
Definitely not.
Oh, and it's not. It's the same space, but it's just logistically, it's more intimate.
Yep. Well, thank you all for being so honest this evening and for joining me and honing this ministry down and paring it down to what the Lord is calling it to be. I'm grateful for all of your insight and your suggestions. I am certainly going to go back and watch this again and take notes and brainstorm with you guys. I'm excited, and I'm so glad that we have a group of visionaries here. I mean, truly, you guys have helped so much and poured so much into me, even if it is just through encouragement that spurs me on to continue in this and to continue to strive for greatness with the Lord. So I thank you all. That was really all I had planned for today, and turned into even more than I had planned. So much brainstorming and so many dreams and ideas. I'm so excited. So
We've just made your to-do list longer.
Yeah.
great. It's great. It's just what I need. So
I'm
thank you
sorry
all.
we didn't get to hear from Brenda.
Yeah, it's Brenda.
I know. I am sorry too. But glad she could be present with her iPhone. So, well, thank you all. I pray blessings for you all. I pray that this new year is good to you, and that the Lord would be present in your groups. And always feel free to reach out to me with prayer or questions or new ideas that come to your mind. Always add to my to-do list, please. I welcome it. And I just pray you all have a good night. Thanks for meeting. All right. Well, I'll see y'all next week, or not next week, next month.
Everybody.
Bye. So
Bye,
glad.
everybody.
So glad.